Dear Joe, forgive me for leaving you this note, but I think it will be better for both of us so that when we meet in a couple of weeks, you don't feel angry towards me. I want to break up with you, in a serious way. We are adults, and I hope for your understanding. 25 years of marriage is a very long time. It can be said half of our lives, but I'm tired. I'm really tired, and there's nothing I can do about it. I don't want to hurt you, and whatever you think, my feelings for you were mutual, but something went out inside me. I found this note in the glove compartment of my pickup when I was getting ready to go to the airport to pick up my wife, Lillian, who was supposed to return home from a business trip. Without finishing the note, I got out of my pickup and went to the store, where I bought a case of beer and headed home. Sitting on the couch, I opened a can of beer, took a gulp, and continued reading. I haven't cheated on you. If you thought that, know that it's not true. We've lived a decent life, raised wonderful children who graduated from college and are now building their own lives independently. I am very proud of us. I am grateful to you for everything you've given me. Remember our first kiss and sex? It was the best thing that happened in my life, and I truly appreciate every moment with you. But now it's different. Now I don't want a relationship. I want to be alone, focus on my career. I'm tired, and again, I'll say, I never cheated on you, and I don't have another man. Even if I find one, it will only be after our final divorce. I apologize for being so straightforward. I understand that you were supposed to pick me up, but I won't be there. I'll return to the city only in a week. I've already talked to a lawyer, and he has prepared all the documents for our divorce. He will contact you soon. I promise not to take anything from you. We will part ways amicably. I am sure it will be better for both of us. Your wife, Lillian. After reading the note, I had more questions than answers. I certainly didn't expect this, especially since there were no slightest hints of a breakup. 2 weeks ago, when Lillian was supposed to leave, we had a wonderful night, discussed our future together. And now it turns out that she already knew at that moment that she would soon leave me. Why didn't she tell me this directly? I tried to call her, but it was futile. Every second, hundreds of questions were popping up in my head for which I couldn't find an answer. It was a low blow. I didn't realize that I had emptied a case of beer and went for the second one. I've encountered similar stories on the internet, where a wife unexpectedly tells her husband that she wants to break up, but I never suspected that I would have to face it myself. Moreover, Lillian didn't give a clear answer as to why she decided to part ways. The next morning, I woke up in the bathroom, or rather, sitting on the toilet. I felt so bad that I wanted to just sink through the ground. The last time I drank alcohol was 5 years ago, and now I had fallen off the wagon, feeling like I ended up in a different dimension. I even forgot that my wife wanted to divorce me until I discovered her note on the couch. I crumpled it and threw it in the trash. Surprisingly, it was easy for me. It was as if I had gotten used to her absence, maybe because I had lived alone for 2 weeks while Lillian was on a business trip. I started cleaning the house when, unexpectedly, someone knocked. I opened the door, and there stood Roger, my son. "Dad, why aren't you answering the phone? Did you read Mom's note?" My head weighed probably more than my whole body, and I wasn't thinking clearly, so I invited him in. "You've started drinking again, Dad. How could this happen?" "I just had a bit. It was a moment of weakness," I said, and beer cans were scattered all over the floor. "Mom asked me to check on you." "Why didn't she call herself?" "I don't know. Probably embarrassed." "Don't worry, son. I'll handle it." I brewed coffee, and Roger and I sat down to talk for a while. Then we cleaned up together, and he even took the initiative to tidy up my bedroom. He told me that Lillian called him yesterday and said she wanted a divorce. When asked why, she gave a clear and concise answer. She was tired. I certainly didn't expect such a turn of fate, and with all my appearance, I showed that I didn't care. But how can you simply erase 25 years of shared life from your mind? It was tough for me. I kicked Roger out and told him not to worry. Meanwhile, I tried to contact Lillian, but her phone was still unavailable to me. However, a divorce lawyer contacted me and asked when he could come for my signature on the documents. I told him I would be busy in the coming days and would be ready to sign everything only next week. I wanted to distract myself. Since childhood, I had dreamed of a dirt bike, so at that moment, I felt like going and buying the best one. I knew that there were some savings in our bedroom drawer, around $200,000, but when I looked inside, there was nothing. Lillian stole our money, I said out loud, and it already angered me. Maybe I was ready to accept everything, but why weren't my honestly earned and saved money in their place? I was bewildered and tried to contact Lillian again, but she was still unavailable. It infuriated me that she decided to break up with me through a note, as if we were teenagers. Moreover, she stole my money, which made me even angrier. Lillian was supposed to be in California now. They went there with their whole work team for some kind of corporate event. But I couldn't even imagine where exactly they were, and there was a chance that Lillian was not in California at all. She might have deceived me and left with my money. I didn't even know if I could file a police report against her, as technically these were our joint funds, but I knew for sure that these were my honestly earned money, and Lillian didn't contribute a dollar there. Overwhelmed with despair, I didn't know what to do, so I went to the bank to cash out our joint account. However, I couldn't do that since Lillian's signature was required. Damn! My wife decided to leave me and leave me with nothing. I slowly began to realize that Lillian decided to break up with me not just like that. After all, why would she leave me a note and take away the money? I decided to meet with my friend Henry, who was always resourceful, and I hoped he would give me some ideas. We agreed to meet in the local pub in the evening. After telling him the whole story of what had happened to me in the last 2 days, he said, "Dude, you're in a mess. I sympathize with you." And I asked him for advice. First of all, I think she 100% cheated on you. I suggest an option. Hire a private detective. I know one very well. He'll find Lillian very quickly and inform you about it. If you have no money at all, I'll help you with this. I accepted his offer, and on the same evening, I contacted the detective and provided him with all of Lillian's details for a quick location. My life took on a completely different rhythm. Honestly, I was ready to divorce her, and at some point, I even resigned myself to it. But when they leave me and take away my own money, I don't want to let it go just like that. 2 days passed, and Roger tried to contact me, but I didn't tell him anything. It was a time when you couldn't trust even your own son. On the 3rd day, the detective contacted me and said he found Lillian. She was indeed in California, living with some guy. I received a couple of pictures in my email. I thanked the detective and went the same day to file a statement against Lillian for stealing my money, hoping to at least recover half of the funds. We had much more money in the bank, but I couldn't access it without Lillian's signature. I no longer had any illusions about my wife's infidelity, but what bothered me more was her belief that she could steal my money and get away with it. That crossed the line for me, and all I wanted was to get the money back and get a divorce. I called Henry and said, "Buddy, I need to fly to California. That's where my wife is living with some guy. I want to retrieve my money and come back. Can I borrow from you?" It was embarrassing to borrow money, as I had never done it before, but the situation was critical. I was left with no money as all of it was in the joint account, and my cash was stolen by my wife. I could sell my pickup, but that would take time, and I needed to act fast. "Joe, I'll come with you. When are we leaving?" "Today." I picked up Henry, and we headed to the airport. I contacted my detective for the precise address, telling him I didn't care about her infidelity. I just wanted to get my money back. Henry confirmed he would be with me, just in case I did something foolish. We received the address and found ourselves in the required city the next day. The detective sent more detailed photos showing my wife kissing some man, and I finally recognized his face. I didn't care who she was cheating on me with, but in her lover's face, I recognized her colleague, Arthur, if I remember his name correctly. He was relatively new in their firm, working there for about 2 years. I had spoken to him at some event, found him friendly and harmless. But I understood that if he asked my wife to steal money, he would face consequences, and I wouldn't care that he was 13 years younger than me. Henry and I checked into the same hotel where Arthur and Lillian were staying. We had no idea which specific room they were in, because the detective didn't know where exactly they lived. So, I sent Henry to guard the street, and when Arthur and Lillian returned to their room, we would know where to find them. In the meantime, not to waste time, I decided to go online and ask various forums for advice on what to do in my situation. I received a lot of support and answers. Some suggested I confront the lover, assuring me there would be no consequences. Some advised a peaceful divorce. Others proposed specific plans to expose my wife, leading to her facing legal consequences. It all amused me greatly, but my plan was the most reliable: retrieve my money and leave. Yes, it hurt that Lillian decided to leave me, but that was her choice. Over these few days, I became so indifferent to her that I wasn't even upset. The most disappointing part was that she wanted to deceive me, and that was just not fair. An hour later, Henry returned to our room, saying he knew their room number. I thanked him, and we began outlining the action plan, what exactly we would do. 30 minutes later, we were fully prepared and set out for action. Surprisingly, I felt no anxiety. It was as if I were doing what I had to do. We approached the room and I knocked. The door opened slightly and I saw Arthur's face. At first, he didn't seem to recognize me and asked, "What's going on?" But then a sudden realization hit him and he tried to close the door, but I managed to block it with my foot, preventing him from doing so. "We want to talk. Let us in, buddy." At that moment, he tried to push me away and call for help. Unfortunately, it couldn't be resolved without physical force. I hit him in the stomach with my hand, and he doubled over in pain. Meanwhile, Henry fully opened the door and we entered. Lillian immediately stood up from the bed and began to speak. "Joe, what are you doing here? I said I'd be back in a week." Arthur wanted to get up and attack me, but Henry quickly knocked him to the floor. Lillian started to shout, "Let Arthur go! He's not involved! Otherwise I'll call for help!" "Quiet. Listen to me, both of you. I don't care about what's between you two. I'm ready to give you a divorce without any issues, and I don't want to harm anyone. I'm interested in one question. Where are my money, Lillian?" It was evident that she was confused and struggled to find words. "Joe, I swear I didn't touch anything. And if you think Arthur and I are having an affair, that's not true. We are colleagues and friends." "I don't care who you are to each other. And do you want to say that you're just friends, sleeping in the same room on the same bed? You are not only deceiving me but also yourself. Admit it. Where did you put my money?" "I'm telling you I don't know." Henry was holding Arthur, and I went up to him, hitting him once in the stomach. "For every wrong answer you give, your boyfriend gets one punch. I'm telling you I don't know where the money is, and he's not my guy." "Liar!" I struck Arthur 2 more times. "I'm not lying. You're about to harm this guy. Do you want that? On what basis do you think I took your money at all? I just wanted to break up. The money is missing from our drawer in the bedroom, $200,000, exactly when you left." "I swear I didn't touch anything, and if you think we are meeting with Arthur, it's not true. We are colleagues and friends. I don't care who you are to each other. Do you want to say that if it wasn't you, then our son Roger took the money?" "I have no idea. Maybe you took them and forgot about it." "Did you check the drawer while I was away?" "No." "Then why did you assume it was me?" Indeed, I calmed down a bit. Since Lillian left, I hadn't checked the drawer, and the money could have disappeared any day. But who could have stolen them? The only person who came to my house was Roger, but I didn't want to think that it was him. "So, you mean to say that if you didn't take the money, then our son Roger did?" "I have no idea. Maybe you took them and forgot about it." "No, I don't just touch them like that," I said, even though I couldn't remember what happened that night when I got very drunk. But I was sure that I wouldn't have opened the drawer just like that. Arthur sat there motionless, held by Henry. Lillian was sitting at the other end of the bed, and I stood over them, completely unsure of what to do next. Lillian stood up and tried to hug me, but I pushed her away. I asked Henry to let go of Arthur, who was barely moving. I walked around the room and began to think about what to do next. "We're just friends with Arthur. I haven't cheated on you," Lillian unexpectedly said. "Stop lying to me, even for a second." I pulled out an envelope with photos from my bag and placed it next to her. "It's over between us. I'll wait for you in the city to get a calm divorce," I said. I signaled to Henry that it was time to leave. At that moment, Lillian rushed to me and started apologizing. I walked away from her in silence. I believed her when she said she didn't know where the money was. Now I began to doubt my own son, but no matter how much I wanted to believe him, I needed to check this theory. I returned to Lillian and asked her for one request: not to communicate with Roger. She silently nodded, and Henry and I went to our room. In the morning, we were supposed to fly back home. I also contacted the detective and told him to cancel the surveillance. I was no longer interested in Lillian. This woman lied to me in the letter that she hadn't cheated on me, while she was hanging out with some young colleague. It disgusted me, and I wanted to erase this woman from my life. We returned home the next day at lunchtime. I immediately went to Roger's house. He lived with his girlfriend Wanda in her house. I had visited them last 6 months ago. Unfortunately, only Wanda was at home this time, so I asked to come inside. In the living room, I saw a large plasma TV and immediately inquired about it. "Wow, do you have a new plasma?" "Yes, Roger and I went shopping yesterday and bought many interesting things. He got a promotion at work," Wanda replied. I immediately sensed that something was wrong. Even if he had received a promotion, he wouldn't have had enough salary to buy such a television. I realized it was purchased with my money. Wanda invited me to the kitchen and offered me tea. She also called Roger to find out when he would be home. Roger was supposed to return within an hour. Wanda and I chatted, but about simple topics. She was a 20-year-old girl and, let's say, a bit naive, in a good sense of the word. Suddenly, I heard the roar of a motorcycle, and Roger arrived at the house on a Harley-Davidson Sportster S, a completely black, brutal motorcycle. I was shocked. Roger didn't expect to see me, so as soon as he saw me coming out of the house, his helmet fell to the ground. "Oh, son, that's a machine you've got there. Why didn't you brag to your dad?" "Hi, Dad. I was going to visit you soon. Didn't expect to see you here." I walked straight to him and, unable to contain myself, took him by the ear and led him into the house. "Dad, what are you doing? It hurts." I forcefully pushed him onto the couch so he sank into it. "I didn't notice right away. You've got a new couch too, huh?" "What do you mean? Where's my $200,000, you little thief?" "What $200,000? I then grabbed him by the ear and pulled him to the floor, placing my soul on his face. "Confess, did you steal my money?" "No, Dad. I didn't steal anything from you. Please stop." "Yeah, and where did you get the new plasma, couch, motorcycle? Did they fall from the sky?" "I didn't steal anything from you." I started pressing his face harder until he told me the truth. In the end, Roger confessed that he stole my money while helping with the cleaning. He accidentally looked into the drawer, saw the money, and the temptation was so high that he stole money from his own father. Out of $200,000, there was around $160,000 left. I took back all the things he spent my money on and left them at my place. I was deeply hurt by my son's actions, and I decided to cut off communication with him indefinitely, as I couldn't even look him in the eye. 2 days later, Lillian returned much earlier than planned. She entered our home as if nothing happened, even attempted to kiss me, but I looked at her as if she were insane. Throughout the evening, she tried to talk to me, but I remained silent. Later, she went upstairs to bed, expecting me to follow, but I slept downstairs on the new couch that my son bought with my own money. The next day, Lillian didn't find me at home. I left her a note stating that I was awaiting a court hearing. I moved to a hotel for a while and contacted Lillian's lawyer to sign the divorce papers, but the lawyer refused. So, I wrote a divorce petition myself. As I understood it, Lillian deliberately told her lawyer not to let me sign anything, but I decided to be more cunning. Lillian tried to contact me and refused to sign the divorce papers. I genuinely couldn't understand why she was avoiding the divorce, although she initiated it. Nevertheless, I agreed to meet her a week later to finalize everything. She started by apologizing and saying she didn't want to break up our marriage. According to her, the letter she wrote was emotional, and she didn't want to part ways with me. I didn't fall for her manipulations, as I had seen everything with my own eyes. I was even surprised by how she changed her stance. I don't need this uncertainty. I've made up my mind. Just understand, we'll act like nothing happened now, and in a month, you'll betray me again. What then? Sort yourself out first. She couldn't argue with me, and after 5 months, we officially divorced. Of course, she made a couple of unsuccessful attempts to reconcile, but I had already made up my mind. Later, I found out that after our last meeting with Arthur decided to leave Lillian. I don't blame Lillian for choosing Arthur, but Arthur is a real jerk. He made her thousands of promises, which he didn't keep, and he ran away from her at the first opportunity. It's a pathetic sight. I am officially single now, and I don't need women. I sold the motorcycle that Roger bought with my money and bought myself a new mountain bike. Now, every weekend, I go to the mountains and ride it. I also got a dog, adopted from a shelter, a mixed breed, and we're doing well together. My second son, Jack, who is studying to be a doctor in Nevada, visited me. He didn't know what was happening, so as soon as he had a couple of weekends free, he came to visit me and his mom. I haven't forgiven Roger. Like Lillian, he tried to find common ground with me, but I flatly refused. Stealing money or anything else from your own father is a very low act, and I don't know if I can forgive him. Although, in reality, I don't care. Everyone makes mistakes, but be ready to face the consequences, and my confrontation is the best punishment for my son. Lillian still hopes that we will be together again. She often comes to my house and we talk, but then I kick her out. I can't sever ties with her because she's the mother of my children, and 25 years of marriage and shared life are not easy to erase from my mind in an instant. As strange as it may sound, my life has gotten better. I've learned who's who, and now I'm not as naive as before. I've become more aware and, as a result, happier. Roger did manage to get my forgiveness. Unexpectedly, he came to my house and gave me a gift, a pricey sports motorcycle suit. I can't say I dreamt of it, but it was very pleasing, so I resumed communication with him. After all, he is my son, and I can't hold a grudge against him forever. So, this is how my story turned out. I'm glad I emerged victorious from this situation. At least that's how I see it for myself. I hope that everyone who reads my story draws the right conclusion, and even if my life experience helps one person, it will be a real gift. Be wise and aware. Thank you.